I've been told the house always wins. I've spent more than 2 decades proving this to be less than accurate. My name doesn't matter. My clan knows who I am. I am a professional gambler, not the fake, romantic Hollywood version, the real sleep in your car version. This is a show about the characters, the plumber, the nose, the kid, and the mostly true tales from a life lived on the felt. Grab a deck of cards. Make yourself comfortable. Folklore from the felt begins now. Last week, I introduced you to 2 eyes, 5 foot nothing, 2 packs of reds, and a coin flip proposition that made no sense. 2-to-1 odds. Your coin. Throw it high. Let it land on the floor. By the end of the night, he was 8, and I thought I'd cracked his secret. He's a visual savant. He can track the coin mid-air and calculate where it lands before it does. And boy, was I wrong. That's not how it works at all. This is folklore from the felt. We played 2 more hands, so 2 eyes could pay his blinds. Then he looked over at GQ. You ready for that coin flip? I still feel lucky. I lost the minimum with my kings against your 8-5 offsuit. Besides, I could tie my record. 9-0 in 1 month. They disappeared toward the race book, and I knew what was going to happen. I was now holding $1,000 of 2 eyes' money and 500 of the frat boys, handed over by GQ without so much as a flinch. This was officially the most money I had ever had on a poker table, although almost none of it was mine, and none of it was in play. I had figured it out, or so I thought. I said nothing. I just watched the speculation unfold. Our whole table was in on the conversation. Theories flying, nobody agreeing. When they came back, we didn't have to ask. I am unstoppable. 9-0. More red birds flew, and like clockwork, 2 eyes went to celebrate with another smoke break. This time, the speculation waited until he was clearly out of earshot, halfway up the stairs before it started. The frat boy turned to GQ. What happened? Are you 2 screwing me? Are you splitting my money with him? The stakes clearly hadn't rattled GQ, but this had. GQ stammered. No, he won. He called it in the air. I threw it straight up. It had to be at least 20 feet. And right before it stalled, he called heads. It fell, bounced, rolled. We both walked up to it. He won. He pumped his fist. He won. He shook his head. That's it. He just beat us. The middle-aged guy leaned in. Same with me. Got right to the top of the arc, and he said, heads on the floor. It landed right at our feet. It was heads. We had to go halfway across the room to see it, said the frat boy. But it was heads. GQ turned white. I noticed. The frat boy didn't. Okay, what are the rules? The frat boy said. 1, your coin. 2, he calls it in the air. 3, it lands on the floor. So how does it work? How does he do it? The middle-aged guy shrugged. Maybe he's just lucky. It landed heads right at our feet. Yeah, said the frat boy. and he always picks heads. GQ couldn't hold it any longer. Look, I'll give you the money back. 500 plus your 20. He paused. I can't believe I'm so stupid. What are you talking about? Why would you give me my money back? I've flipped coins before, even for money, but you always catch it in an open hand and flip it over onto the back of your wrist. You reveal the coin. Heads is heads, tails is tails. But he calls it in the air, and it lands on the ground. Yeah, so how can he cheat? GQ hesitated. Well, he was so excited. I just thought he won. I paid him. What do you mean you just paid him? The frat boy said. It landed heads, right? Well, sort of. What do you mean, sort of? Well, it was 20 feet up. He yelled heads on the floor. We walked over to it, and it was tails. What do you mean, tails? He was so adamant. He said heads on the floor, and he was so excited, and he was pumping his fist and pointing at it and jumping up and down. Heads on the floor, heads on the floor, heads on the floor, and saying personal best, 9, and 0. GQ paused. And he has a point. The head was touching the floor. And I just paid him. And boy, was I wrong. That's not how it works at all. He never loses a coin flip. His own words. Think about it. If the head is pointing up, it's heads. He wins. No argument. If the head is pointing down, the head is literally touching the floor. Heads on the floor. He wins. And the celebration sells it. He's jumping. He's pumping his fist. He's already calling his personal best. And he's already walking away. No rematch. Nobody ever questions it. He can't lose. He never could. They figured it out while he was gone. That last smoke break gave them just enough time. When Two Eyes came back to the table, he was strutting. Then he felt it. The silence. He could read our faces. He almost didn't see the 6'2" ex-footballer walking up behind him. Almost. But he heard loud and clear when the frat boy draped a very firm, very uncomfortable arm around his shoulder and said, I gotta go to the bathroom. Why don't you come with me? The middle-aged guy was on his feet 10 seconds later, genuinely scared for the little guy. He was back at the table in under a minute. His first words, "There's no blood. They're figuring it out." The poker game continued. Two Eyes and the frat boy came back to the table a few seconds apart from one another. They gathered their chips and their belongings. And that was the last we saw of them that night. It's hard to believe that a few years later, Two Eyes would be living in my house. A house I bought in the middle of America to be close to a newly opened casino. Even harder to believe is that after we were asked to never return to that casino, we, along with the Chard, the Greek, and the Kangaroo, would go on a multi-year tour of hundreds of casinos and gambling halls across the country. Somewhere on the road, I reminded Two Eyes of the night we first met, and he filled me in on the missing details. In that bathroom, out of view from the cameras, he and the frat boy had come to an agreement. The fact that Two Eyes is still alive proves that the frat boy is a man of his word. Two Eyes returned the money. Well, most of it. The first 2 coin flips had landed heads legitimately, and I think even the victim of the hustle appreciated the craftsmanship. In Two Eyes' own words, he let me keep a couple hundred for the hard work. I had no idea that this savant spoke fluent English, Portuguese, French, and Spanish. I had no idea that his laptop would accidentally fall out of a 3rd-floor window while he was playing online poker. Not once, not twice, 3 times. I had no idea he could beat you at 9-ball, giving you the wild 7 and 8. You see, for Two Eyes, it's never been about the money. Sure, the money is nice, but what drives him is the action, the camaraderie, the adrenaline. I truly believe he would be happier playing 2-on-2 pinochle in the back room of a pool hall for 10 cents a point than soaking up the rays on a beach in the south of France. I had no idea that night. Sitting in seat 6, holding other people's money, trying to figure out a hustle I'd never seen before, that I was already one of the boys. Red birds for the boys. And if you made it this far, so are you. You're one of the very first to find this channel, this podcast, this experiment. Welcome to the Felt. This has been Folklore from the Felt. I'll see you next week.